Hello, this is Olivia, and welcome to my channel, Justice in Her Hands, with a new original story. Let's begin. The fork felt heavier than it should, like it belonged to someone stronger. The lemon cleaner in the air burned the back of my throat, and the iced tea went watery, the way it does when you forget it too long. The waiter kept stopping to ask if I was still waiting, and I kept saying yes because a mother who admits her son is not coming has to stand up and walk out, and I did not trust my legs. My phone buzzed on the vinyl seat. Donna May. "You good, Lo?" I told her I was fine. Then I opened my feed, and there it was. Mason's grin. Lydia's red nails on his shoulder. The caption that bit clean through me. I heard a couple at the next table whisper, not cruel, just curious. I smiled like a woman in a picture frame and signed the check. My hands left little half-moons in the paper. The drive home was quiet, except for the rattle in the glove box I never get around to fixing. I parked, sat in the dark, and listened to the house tick and settle. On the mantel was the photo from Mason's senior night, me in a rain poncho, him holding a muddy football, the kind of moment you think will last forever because you have earned it. But love is not a contract a person signs in ink. It is bills paid, tires replaced, bailouts no one remembers. It is a reputation carried in church pews and grocery lines where folks say, "She is a good mother." It used to be mine. Donna May came over with pie, and the look she saves for bad storms. She did not tell me to let it go. She said, "What hurts you is not worthy of you." I laughed in that cracked way and told her about the caption. She set her hand on my wrist until my breathing slowed. That was when the idea clicked into place, quiet as a door latching. I would step back. No speeches, no pleading. I would remove the pieces of me that kept other people standing. And I would leave behind one small thing, simple and undeniable, so the truth could not be spun by anyone else. It would sit where Mason could not miss it. He would have to touch it to enter the life I built for him. I packed before sunrise. Documents, keys, a modest roll of cash from the coffee can. I wrote a note that did not wobble, not once. The house smelled like dust and old lavender as I walked through, touching the backs of chairs the way you pat a child at the door. Then I set the one small thing in its place, turned the lock from the outside, and put the key on top. The morning birds were loud, bold, like they knew something I did not. I got in the car, looked once at the porch, and drove away. Where I went is a part of the story. So is what I left. You will see soon enough. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment where you're watching from. I did not vanish like smoke. I vanished like paperwork. Quiet, dated, notarized. First stop was First Fidelity, where the lobby smelled like floor wax and lemon, where pens were chained to the desk as if truth might run off if you let it. My fingers left damp ovals on the counter. I slid a revocation of power of attorney across to the banker, a woman with mild eyes who asked softly, "Are you sure?" I said yes. The word felt like a stone settling. We removed Mason from my accounts, cut off the automatic top-ups for his phone, his car insurance, the emergency card he treated like a faucet. Then I opened a post office box and told the clerk to forward everything. My voice shook once and then steadied, like a window catching and sliding into track. By mid-morning, Donna May and I were at the courthouse, where coffee breath and old paper share the same air. I recorded a new deed moving my house into a simple living trust, the Whitlow Preservation Trust, with me as trustee and Donna May as successor. No drama, no threats, just structural change, like shifting joists under a floor before anyone falls through. I kept the language plain. Distributions at my discretion. kindness required, respect not optional. I did not write Mason's name there. I wrote, beneficiary to be named. The woman at the recorder's window stamped the document with a satisfying thump that echoed in my bones. We stopped for sandwiches we barely tasted. My mouth kept going dry. My hands wanted to fold and unfold napkins to keep busy so my head would not fill with old pictures of birthday cakes and science fair boards, and me, cheering, always cheering. I bought a prepaid flip phone that snapped shut like a little door. I tucked cash into a second wallet because cash does not care about captions. Then I checked into a short stay place at Riverview Motor Court, room 7 that leaned a little toward the river and smelled like pine cleaner and someone else's decisions. The air conditioner rattled. The carpet had a sun-faded path where many tired people had stood before me, thinking hard about what to do next. Donna May did not ask if I was sure. She put a thermos of coffee on the dresser, lined up my medication, and drew the curtain half open the way I like it. "You do not owe anybody your own bones," she said, then kissed my forehead and left me with quiet. I lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling fan until the blur steadied. My heartbeat climbed and then, finally, came down like a child from a tree. What I left behind for Mason was not dramatic. A brass key taped to a letter on the kitchen table. The letter was one page, typed clean, signed in ink that did not tremble. The key fits my safe deposit box. Inside that box is my will, sealed photos he has not seen, and copies of every check, every receipt, every text where I stepped in so his life could glide. Car repairs, bailouts, deposits, semester fees I paid when his father would not. There is also one cashier's check payable to him, one final month of help, and a sentence beneath it. Future support requires basic decency. No more funding contempt. If he wants to step into the life I built, he will have to touch the truth first. Near dusk, I drove the long way home and parked 3 houses down under a pecan tree that throws mottled shade over the curb. The street smelled like cut grass and grill smoke. I watched from behind my sunglasses as Mason pulled up in his slate pickup and bounded to my porch with a stride I recognized from his toddler years, that big boy hurry. He found the key on top of the lock like I knew he would. He hesitated, jaw tight, then went in. My throat tightened. The sun slid behind clouds. Time stretched thin as a thread. He did not stay long. When he came back out, he had the envelope in his hand. His face looked like a closed door. My flip phone buzzed. Unknown number, which meant him. I let it ring through once, twice, the sound sending little shivers down the tendons of my wrist. I pressed the phone to my chest and closed my eyes. I wanted to answer. I wanted to be the soft place to land. But love without respect is a trap with cushions. The call ended. A minute later, a new message flashed. "Where are you?" No question mark. No mom. Just those words. I put the phone on the dashboard. The engine ticked in the settling heat. Somewhere down the block, a screen door slammed and laughter spilled out. I watched my son put the envelope on his passenger seat and drive off toward the bank where the box is, toward the thing that can't be cropped or captioned away. Good. Let him see. Let him touch it first. I parked across from First Fidelity, where the air stays a degree too cold, like secrets keep better chilled. Through the glass, I saw the silver of the safe door and the small ritual of access, the clerk's clipboard, the matching keys, the gentle clack of metal. Mason moved like a man walking through mud, shoulders up, jaw tight, ball cap pulled low though we were indoors. I could not hear a word, just the rhythm. Hand the key, sign the card, follow the attendant to the little room with the metal table and the chair that wobbles on one leg. I remembered that chair. We all think our lives are built out of grand scenes. Mostly, they are built out of rooms like that. My flip phone trembled against my palm. A text. What is this? Then, you kept everything? Then something longer that my brain skimmed and rejected. Words like petty and controlling. And why are you making this about money? The sun hit the windshield and turned the dash hot enough to sting. I rolled the window down, and the smell of cut grass rolled in, clean and green, and a little bitter. I typed slowly, thumbs careful. I kept proof when words failed. Read it. Then call. I did not add mom. I did not add please. He did not call. He came out fast, face blank in that young man way that pretends blank means strong. He put the envelope in his truck and drove not home, but straight to the old brick branch where the vault lives. I let him go. What you cannot control, you release, or it will grind your bones down. The urge to follow sat heavy in my chest, a dog straining at a leash. I kept my hands on the wheel until the feeling eased. At Riverview Motor Court, room 7 hummed with the window unit's rattle, a sound like someone shaking coins in a coffee can. Donna May had left a casserole and a folder of printouts, each page clipped with neat green tabs. Your utilities, now auto-drafted from the trust, her sticky note said. Certificate of deposit ladder, 3, 6, 12 months, so you have breathing space. She had also slid in a short handwritten budget, groceries, fuel, co-pays, like she knew my brain was too busy to do the small math. I sat on the bed and read the note twice. My pulse slowed. The carpet smelled faintly of pine cleaner and last week's rain. Then the noise started online. A friend from church messaged, "Honey, I'm sorry. Folks are talking." The Mother's Day. Post that had lit the fuse started to tilt. People who never comment were commenting now. The waitress from Red Barn said I'd been there waiting, long past when any plate is fit to serve. Coach Blanton's wife wrote, Lowe was at every game when his father was not. Lydia chimed in with a slick little paragraph about blended families and boundaries, and beneath it, her friends liked and clapped. I tasted metal. The word boundaries is useful. It can also be a blade. Another text from Mason. You kept photos. I stared at the words until they blurred. Those were the sealed ones. The day his father stood in our driveway and swore there was no ring yet on Lydia's hand. The next week, when there was. The morning I signed the refinance so Mason could stay in his school. I had sealed them because a person deserves the chance to grow without tripping over the broken glass of old truths. But a person also deserves to know what house they are standing in when they declare who raised them. I called Donna May. She picked up on the first half ring, breathless, like she had been waiting in the doorway of the phone. He saw it, I said. Good, she answered. Not mean, just firm. Now decide who you are in daylight. I rubbed the bridge of my nose where the headache sits like a coin. There's the scholarship banquet Friday, I said. The Whitlow Service Award. My mother's name is printed right on the program. Lydia will be there, Donna May said. Mason too. We let the silence say the rest. In the mirror over the dresser, I watched a woman I recognized and did not. Jaw set, eyes red-rimmed, a little hotel lamp turning her hair the color of cinnamon toast. I could skip the banquet. I could sit here and fold and refold the quilt until my heart smoothed out. Or I could show up in my blue dress and say nothing and let the room read my face. Or I could stand at that microphone under those 2 bright lights and say one true sentence that cannot be spun. My hand went cold even thinking it. Public costs. But silence charges interest. I ironed the blue dress that still smells faintly of lavender from last spring and laid it across the chair. I wrote a note card with a single line in my neatest hand. Love is not measured by captions. It is measured by receipts and constancy. Then I slid the card under the dress. I would decide the second I felt the weight of the room. You cannot rehearse truth. You only clear a path for it. By morning, the town felt smaller, as if the sidewalks had narrowed to make room for everyone's opinion. At Riverview Motor Court, the air conditioner clattered like it was counting down. I made coffee in the tiny drip pot and read the committee email again. My name printed as presenter of the Whitlow Service Award. Same as every year except last spring when Lydia stepped in on our family's behalf after Mason told the chair I had a migraine. A lie that had laid itself down like a rug over a trap door. This year, the chair, Hollis Carver, wrote, "If you prefer to sit it out, we understand. If you want the microphone, we will be honored." The words glowed in the cheap morning light. Want. Honored. Money first. I drove to the credit union where Mr. Flores adjusted my distributions so a modest check would land every first Monday. Plus the small interest from the certificate of deposit ladder Donna May set up. 3 rungs to keep me from panicking and cashing everything at once. I canceled the gym membership I used twice last winter and listed the quilting machine I no longer used. Cash and dignity. Choose both whenever you can. My hands stopped trembling long enough to sign. Outside, the sun pressed warm on my forearms, the air carrying that cut grass tang and faraway diesel. My flip phone buzzed. Mason, you made me look like a beggar. Then, before I could answer, Lydia says you're violating boundaries by digging up the past. I stood by the cart return, breathing through the old trick. Slow in, slower out, until the prickling behind my eyes eased. I typed, "Boundaries keep people safe. They do not keep truth buried." Then I put the phone inside my purse like I was placing a hot pan on a trivet. By noon, the town had chewed the story and started spitting out conclusions. The Red Barn waitress posted that I tipped well after waiting long past warm. Coach Blanton himself wrote that I had washed uniforms when the dryer in the field house broke, and that folks should hush unless they own a box of evidence like mine. Lydia replied with a glossy paragraph about healing forward, signing off with a heart, the color of warning lights. I felt the old tug to defend myself line by line. I did not. Silence can be armor when you choose it. Donna May arrived with a garment bag and that stubborn tilt to her chin. She brushed my hair back and pinned it with a small pearl barrette that had belonged to her mother. Stage lights bounce off pearls in a way that makes a woman look like she means what she says, she murmured, spritzing something that smelled like gardenias and starch. She set my blue dress on the bed, slipped a pair of low heels beside it, and checked the clasp of my simple chain. "If you speak," she said, "say one sentence clean enough to set a pane of glass." Before we left, I took the note card from under the dress and read the line again. Love is not measured by captions. It is measured by receipts and constancy. I did not know if I would read it into a microphone or fold it into my palm for courage. The decision sat heavy, but not cruel. A choice, not a command. At the high school gym, the waxed floor smelled like orange and old victories. Banners rattled softly when the air kicked on. I saw Mason's slate truck near the loading dock and felt my stomach turn. A slow roll like a boat hitting wake. Inside, Lydia stood near the stage in a cream dress that photographed well, telling the MC some story that made the woman laugh and touch her arm. When Lydia spotted me, her smile flickered, recovered, bright as a porch light meant for company, not family. Mason avoided my eyes, jaw set, program rolled in his fist. The room did that hush people do before the first note of a hymn. Hollis found me near the bleachers, his hand warm and dry. "We'll announce you at the top," he said. "No pressure. But if you've got something to say it." The microphone waited on its stand, thin and silver, smelling faintly of pennies, and everybody who ever swallowed fear and spoke anyway. I slipped the note card into the pocket of my dress and felt its little edge against my palm. The house lights dimmed. The first applause swelled, and I stepped toward the stage. The microphone smelled faintly like pennies and peppermint lozenges. The gym lights were bright enough to make the dust look like slow snow. I felt my pulse in the soft of my throat, then in my wrists, then everywhere at once. Hollis introduced the award. The crowd clapped, and I stepped into the wash of light. My shoes clicked in a steadier rhythm than my heart. I saw Donna May near the aisle, hands folded, chin high. I saw Mason 2 rows back, jaw set, hand on the back of a folding chair like he needed it to stand. Lydia hovered near the stage in a cream dress that made her look like a glossy page. "Good evening," I said, and my voice did not shake. "This award is named for a woman who believed service is doing what needs doing when there is no camera on and no caption coming. Love works the same way." A ripple moved through the bleachers, that shiver of attention when people feel something true scrape past their ribs. I breathed once, twice. I reached into my pocket and touched the edge of the note card as if it could conduct courage through paper. I spoke about the student, a quiet girl named Talia Green, who had spent weekends at Maple Ridge helping elders sort their medication boxes and fixing wobbly porch steps without posting any of it. "This award," I said, "is for constancy over display." My eyes found Mason without meaning to. He looked down at his shoes, then up at me, then away. It didn't kill me. It didn't. When I handed Talia the envelope, the room stood to clap. Lydia slid toward the microphone with a smile that had points. "On behalf of our family," she began, reaching. Hollis hesitated, then angled the stand back to me. I kept my palm flat over the note card in my pocket and spoke into the same air Lydia had tried to claim. "A small housekeeping item," I said, voice level. "The Whitlow Preservation Trust will fund this award for the next 5 years, and it will include a mentorship element, visits with us to Maple Ridge, receipts and lists, the kind of quiet work that leaves rooms better than you found them." The word receipts landed like a coin on a tabletop. Lydia's smile faltered. "Low," she said, soft enough for only the stage to hear. "This is not the time." The microphone, bless it, carried me anyway. "One more sentence," I said to the room. I felt my pulse slow into something I could ride. "Love is not measured by captions. It is measured by receipts and constancy." The bleachers answered with a low, full sound, part applause, part murmur, part something older that people make when a truth they recognize arrives wearing plain clothes. Phones were up. Coach Blanton clapped first, hard and steady, and others followed, a rolling wave. Mason stood halfway, then sat, then stood all the way, torn in two by the same wind that once tore me. Lydia reached for his sleeve. He eased out from under her hand. My mouth tasted like copper and cloves. I nodded to Talia, shook Hollis's hand, and left the stage with my spine tall and my knees jelly. In the hallway, the air was cooler, sharp with floor wax. My flip phone buzzed in my clutch. "Mason, you humiliated me." Then, "We will talk when you stop being dramatic." I typed, "Careful. When your apology is as public as your caption, I will meet for coffee. Until then, the trust will hold." I watched the dots blink, vanish, return. No reply. Lydia appeared by the trophy case, voice pitched for sympathy and witnesses. "Lo, you're weaponizing money," she said, pressing one hand to her throat as if I had grabbed it. I kept my hands at my sides. "No," I said. "I'm declining to fund contempt." Her eyes flashed. "People will say you're bitter." "They already do," I said. "They also say I am consistent." Donna May slid between us like a seasoned usher, a light touch on my elbow steering me toward the exit. In the parking lot, the night smelled like creosote and cut grass. My legs trembled the way they do after a long climb. I leaned on the cool edge of my car door until the shaking eased. Inside the gym, the band struck up a polite tune. Out here, crickets tuned themselves and went on with their lives. "Glass pane," Donna May said, smiling at me. "Clean and set." I laughed once, low. It came out sounding like relief and grief had decided to share a chair. We drove back to Riverview with the windows cracked, warm air rolling in. Somewhere behind us, the story kept moving along without my hand on its back. Good. Let it. Morning came late to room 7, thin light sneaking past the heavy curtain, the air unit clicking like a metronome for nerves. My flip phone buzzed and I braced, but the first ping was from the award page. Photos of Talia holding her certificate. Comments, soft and proud. Under that, a different hum. People noticed Mason's Mother's Day post had vanished. Not an apology, a deletion. Online, deletion is a shrug that pretends to be repair. Still, the air in my chest loosened one notch. Lydia posted a glossy paragraph about respecting elders' boundaries and financial coercion dressed as virtue. It glittered with concern, a chandelier of phrases that throws pretty light and hides dust. By noon, a letter slid under my motor court door in an envelope the color of bruise. Bramwell and Hunt, attorneys at law, requested I cease disparagement and reconsider recent estate adjustments that raise questions of undue influence. My throat went dry enough to spark. Paper rasps when your fingers are not sure of themselves. I sat on the bed, breathed until I could call Mr. Flores, who gave me a name, Avery Caldwell, steady as limestone. Avery met me at a strip mall office that smelled like toner and rain. She wore boots and a plain gold ring, and listened the way a good nurse listens to lungs. "You are trustee," she said, tapping my documents. "You revoked the power of attorney correctly. You moved the house to a living trust with a notarized deed. None of that is coercion. That letter is a bluff with a fancy letterhead." A warm heaviness spread under my ribs. Not quite joy, not quite sleep. "If they escalate?" I asked. "Then we answer in daylight," she said. "Until then, we do not feed a bluff." At Maple Ridge that afternoon, sawdust and lemon oil braided in the air. Talia and I labeled pill organizers and tightened a grab bar in Mrs. Fortenberry's shower, the drill whining like a small, determined animal. Mr. Jasper handed us a wobbly photo frame, the glass chipped at one corner. "Can you make it remember to stand up?" he asked. Talia steadied the back with a strip of felt while I set 2 new brads, the soft tap of the hammer oddly holy. "Receipts and lists," I told her, showing the little ledger I'd started for our mentorship, miles, supplies, hours, names. "Documentation is not war. It's a light you carry." People treated me different in town. At Red Barn, the waitress slid a piece of pie across the counter on the house, and the cook lifted 2 fingers without making it a fuss. At the feed store, Mrs. Larkin said she was praying for clarity, which is small county for truth with no blood on it. The before and after of respect can make your knees buckle. I drove slowly, hands quiet at 10 and 2, and practiced not apologizing for breathing. Mason texted near dusk. "Take down what you said." Then, "Lydia says the award speech hurt her." I let the words sit until they cooled. The speech was about service, I wrote. If the shoe is loud, that's between her and her foot. Dots blinked, vanished, returned. We should talk, he sent. Not online. My knuckles tingled, the body's old reflex to reach and soften. I could feel the tilt of the trap, a private talk that becomes a private rewrite. My conditions, I replied. Tomorrow, Donna Mae's kitchen, 2 o'clock. You come alone and place your phone in the bowl by the door. Public apology still required afterward. A long pause. Fine, he wrote, but no lectures. My hand shook. I set the phone down like it might jump. At First Fidelity, I retrieved the sealed envelope of photos and the blue binder of receipts. Their weight familiar as a baby, you still know in the dark. The photos were not cruelty. They were context. A driveway shot where his father stood, saying there was no ring yet. The new ring party, a week later under the pergola at Lydia's sister's, my boy in the corner eating cake with his hands because no one cut it for him. Copies of deposits and repairs and boosters paid when the district fund ran dry. In the motor court room, I spread them on the bedspread and felt my pulse drum in my gums. A person's past will sit quietly until you ask it to testify. Donna Mae had lemon oil on the wood when I arrived, 2 mugs breathing cinnamon steam. She tucked her phone into the bowl by the door to make the rule feel less like a weapon. You do not have to win, she said, touching my sleeve. You only have to stand. I laid the binder on the table, rested my palm on the cover long enough to steady the tremor in my wrist, and turned the first photo face down so I would not start with a blow. The knock on the screen door was 3 quick taps, the way Mason knocked as a boy. My breath caught. Then the door eased open, and he stepped into the lemon-bright kitchen that had loved him his whole life. The screen door breathed once, and Mason stepped in, taller than the doorway like always. The old citrus and laundry scent of my boy buried under cologne I did not know. Donna Mae nodded toward the blue bowl on the table. He hesitated, then set his phone in with a dry clink. Small obedience, big meaning. My pulse eased 1 notch. We sat. Lemon oil and cinnamon hung in the air. Sun slid across the laminate, bright as a blade. I placed the blue binder between us and rested my hand on it so he could see the tremor and the way I held it still. I will not argue, I said. I will show. I opened to the first divider, copies of deposits, tire receipts, registration fees, the bailouts that look like luck from far away. He flipped fast, cheeks tight. This is petty, he said, but softer than the text he had sent. I slid out a sealed envelope and tapped 1 photo free. The pergola party. Lydia's ring catching porch light 1 week after the night. His father swore there was no ring. There was a second print tucked behind it. A screenshot of a message from Lydia to him, time-stamped. The words plain as that weather. Post something sweet about me on Mother's Day. It will mean a lot to your father. Let's keep your mom calm. A promise of help with rent floated under it like a footnote. I felt my throat go dry. I saved this, I said, to protect us from gaslight, not to win. He looked at the photo, then at the message, then at me. His mouth opened and shut. She was trying to keep peace, he said, then winced at his own voice, like he heard it echo somewhere hollow. Donna Mae pushed a glass of water toward his hand and looked away, gifting him a scrap of privacy he did not earn and still needed. I am not asking you to choose a side, I said, palms flat so I would not reach for him. I am asking you to stop rewriting mine. Public words wounded me in public. Repair must be public. The word public hung there, heavy as a bell. He rubbed the bridge of his nose. That old boy habit. And I saw a crack. Hairline but real. "What do you want exactly?" he asked. I slid a single page across. Terms in my neat hand. A written apology posted where the caption lived. A coffee in daylight after that. Respect as the price of any future support. He read, swallowed, read again. Lydia says you are coercing me. I am offering a door, I said. You pick the key. He stood, paced the tile, came back. I need time. I nodded once. Take a day, I said. After that, the trust moves from maybe to never. His breath hitched. For a heartbeat, I saw the boy who brought me dandelions with roots still attached. He slid the page under his palm like it might flutter off. I will think, he said, and left his phone in the bowl by mistake. He was halfway down the walk when he noticed. He looked through the screen at me, ashamed and young. I handed it back and did not touch his fingers. Dawn made room 7 look honest. No shadows. Just the rattle of the unit and coffee that tasted like tin and resolve. I went to Maple Ridge with Talia, our ledger clipped neat, the drill warm in my palm as we set 2 anchors in Mrs. Fortenberry's wall. The plastic burned a little under the bit. Lemon oil lifted in the air. Work steadies a person. So does paper that can stand up in daylight. Avery called from her strip mall office, printer humming behind her. They sent nothing more, she said. I replied anyway, calm, firm, on letterhead that means what it says. Your trust stands. If they want to shout coercion, Discovery will ask them to bring receipts. I felt something uncoil at the base of my skull, a tightness I had worn so long I thought it was my posture. Thank you, I said, and meant it like a prayer. By noon, Lydia's voice message landed, bright with sugar and warning. Low, please don't force a scene. Our family is fragile. She said family like a porch I had not helped build. I set the phone face down and folded towels for the Maple Ridge linen closet until my hands remembered they were mine. Mason texted near dusk. What do the words have to be? Not a fight. A reach. I stood in my kitchenette, butter crackling in a skillet, and typed with care. Your words. My name. The truth that the caption hurt and was arranged. An apology without a but. Posted where the harm lived. He went quiet. The butter browned and smelled like nuts, and I ate standing up, the way you do when you trust yourself again but not your chair. At choir practice, Pastor Ray caught my elbow. Will you say a line about the scholarship Sunday? She asked. My throat went dry, then settled. Yes, I said. Outside, cicadas tuned the evening. On the drive back, the sky bruised purple and gold. My flip phone buzzed twice. Mason. Sunday, second service. I'll say it from the mic. Then, a minute later, another. A screenshot from Lydia. Don't you dare make a spectacle. His reply beneath it, I'm done pretending. The road shimmered under the street lamps. My heart hit hard once, then again. Not peace, but a path. The sanctuary smelled like lemon polish and old paper, the kind that softens at the edges from years of hands. Stained glass threw thin slices of blue across the pew backs, and the microphone up front hummed like a wasp behind glass. Donna Mae slid in beside me, purse tucked neat, her shoulder a quiet brace. Pastor Ray spoke about service with sleeves rolled and hands steady, then nodded toward me for a single line about the scholarship. My knees went loose and then locked. I walked to the lectern, the wood warm under my palms, and said, This year's award will come with small acts that leave rooms better than we found them. A simple sentence. It landed. Pastor Ray cleared her throat. A brief word from Mason Whitlow. The room drew in a breath it did not release. Mason came down the aisle in a clean shirt, no cap, palms open like he meant to carry something without dropping it. He stood at the mic and swallowed, the sound loud in the hush. I posted a caption on Mother's Day that hurt my mother, he said. No excuse. I took it down, but deletion is not apology. I am sorry. It was wrong. He steadied himself on the edge of the lectern. I also let someone ask me to say it. I said it anyway. That part is on me. My mother raised me. Not perfect, but constant. I am grateful. I am sorry. The room made that low, human sound people make when something true finally gets its name. A few clapped once, then stopped, aware that clapping can bruise a tender thing. My throat tasted like copper and cloves. I nodded, just once, so he could see his words had found a place to sit. Lydia stood. Cream dress, sharp smile gone soft and white around the edges. This is manipulation, she said. Voice pitched to Carrie, hands clasped like prayer with nails that flashed. She is holding his inheritance hostage. She is coercing him with money. A rustle moved through the pews. Deacon Ellis touched her elbow. She jerked away. You are watching abuse, she said to the room. Phones appeared. Pastor Ray's voice landed like a firm hand on a hot stove. Ms. Harwell, this is not testimony time. Please sit. Lydia exhaled hard, gathered her purse, and walked out in a clatter of heels, light slicing around her as the door swung shut. I stayed at the end of the pew, hands flat, breath measured. Relief did not come as a wave. It arrived as a thin thread of cool air behind my ribs. After the benediction, the fellowship hall smelled like percolator coffee and orange slices for the kids. Mason came to me with that same open palms posture and said, barely above a whisper, I meant it. My eyes stung. Thank you, I said. The post stays. No edits. Then coffee. He nodded, young and old at once. In the corner, whispers gathered, some kind, some curious, some with teeth. Coach Blanton shook my hand like a contract. Mrs. Larkins pressed a tissue into my palm with a squeeze that said the whole county had an opinion, and she hoped mine would outlive it. Before I reached the door, my phone buzzed. Avery. They filed a petition challenging the trust. Hearing set for Thursday morning. It is still smoke, but we will bring water. I felt my pulse in my gums again, a drum I did not want to march to. Public again. Paper again. Truth under lights. Donna May read my face and squeezed my elbow. Daylight, she said. Where lies combust? I breathed slow so my hands would not shake the cup. That night at Riverview, I laid out the blue binder, the will, the deed, and the small card with my sentence. I added one more page, written in my neatest hand. After a season of steady respect, 6 months without public or private contempt, the trust will consider modest support tied to work done at Maple Ridge. Clear terms, no surprises. I tucked the page under the clip and closed the cover. Outside, the cicadas rose and fell like a rough sea against the motel walls. I did not sleep much, but I stayed. I would walk into Thursday with my documents and my voice, and if someone wanted a spectacle, they would get a record. The courthouse smelled like old paper and lemon cleaner, the kind of clean that still remembers dust. Fluorescent lights hummed over wooden benches, rubbed smooth by years of worry. I sat with Avery at the front, the blue binder squared to the table, my palms flat to keep the tremor from traveling up my arms. Donna May slid in behind me, a hand on my shoulder for just a second, a steadying weight. Mason took the row across the aisle, no cap, hands clasped so tight I could see his knuckles pale. Bramwell stood first, all silver hair and certainty, talking about undue influence and moral conditions that sounded like control. He said I had weaponized estate instruments, and the phrase echoed like a showy bell. Avery rose without theatrics, boots planted, voice even. She laid the timeline out like lumber, Revocation of power of attorney filed and notarized. Independent counsel retained. Deed to a living trust executed with witnesses. No transfers to the trustee, except the house already in my name. Distributions for the scholarship continued. No retaliation, just boundaries for future help. Discretionary trusts permit a trustee to consider conduct, she said, citing a section number that didn't need a flourish. That is not coercion, that is stewardship. Bramwell pushed a stack of printouts toward the judge. Screenshots of comments, Lydia's glossy paragraph about financial coercion dressed as virtue. Avery slid one page forward in reply, the time-stamped message from Lydia to Mason instructing the Mother's Day caption. The room did not gasp. It exhaled long and low, as if a window had been cracked. Lydia's cheeks went a flat kind of white. She stared ahead, jaw set hard enough to ache. Avery called me. The oath felt like a sip of cold water that bites. I answered plain. I did not sweeten. I said I had paid and kept proof when words failed, and that I moved my home because safety belongs to the living. When Avery asked if anyone pressured me to change my estate plan, I said no. When she asked why I added written terms, I said, so hope would not make me foolish. My voice didn't wobble. My hands warmed against the wood. Then Avery asked the court to hear from Mason only on one point. He stood and faced the judge, not me. No one forced me to apologize, he said. No one threatened me to come today. I read what my mother kept. I was wrong. He cleared his throat. That boy sound made inside a man's chest. I respect her boundaries. The judge nodded, a small human thing that still held weight. The ruling came like measured rain. Petition denied. No evidence of undue influence. The trust stands. Costs to the petitioner. The judge added, almost kindly, that courts are not where families should try to edit memories. Take your fights off the internet and into rooms with chairs, he said. A gavel is just wood until it lands. When it landed, something inside me let go. On the courthouse steps, the stone was warm through the soles of my shoes. A few folks lingered with phones they pretended not to hold. Lydia marched past without looking at me, the heat of her anger like a stove you keep your hands away from. Bramwell spoke into his watch, already on to the next show. Donna May hugged me once, quick and fierce. Daylight did what daylight does, she said. Mason stood uncertain at the edge of the steps. We walked to the coffee stand under the magnolia, where the air smelled like beans and sap. He kept his palms open on the table, as if he were learning a new way to hold things. 6 months, he said. Service at Maple Ridge. No contempt, public or private. Then we talk support. I nodded. Work logs and receipts, I said. Not punishment. Proof. He half smiled, the old kind. I can do that. Then do it, I answered. And the words were not a dare. They were a door. By evening, I was back at Riverview, the window unit rattling like a tired drummer, the blue binder closed and lighter somehow. I packed slowly, the dress, the ledger, the small pearl barrette Donna May had pinned in my hair. I did not move back home that night. I did not disappear, either. I drove by my porch at dusk and left something else behind, simple as a bowl by the door. A printed list of Maple Ridge shifts, my name, and Mason's under the same column, and a note taped above it in my neat hand. Constancy is how we come back. The porch light clicked on. Crickets lifted their rough hymn. In the dark glass of the window, I saw a woman who had waited alone and eaten cold coleslaw, and then learned the hard skill of standing. I put the car in gear. The map of our family was new. It would hold.